Good morning. This morning I have the pleasure of introducing Tim Littleton, who is the president, or the chairperson of our YPN organization, our Young Professional Network. He's doing a bang-up job with that, but he's also working in a part of the industry that I don't know a lot about. So Tim, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, talk about what you're doing now, and then we're going to talk about how you came to this place. But start with what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I am the leasing director for KO Realty. I do some support. I also do practice a little bit on the side, but I strictly focus on mostly interacting and getting rental clients and rental or landlords for our agents there internally. So yes, that's how I.
That's an interesting thing because most people with landlords are going like, "That's a lot of work for." Yes.
Well, here, so when I originally moved here to Chicago, I used to go around. I used to live in Lincoln Park, and I would go take pictures of all the management signs on the sides of buildings. And so I would just collect them up, and I would go home, and I would just start cold calling because my background even before then was in commercial. So I was just sitting at a desk, just cold calling all day long. So that was my background.
So once you got here to Chicago and you started, you did commercial for a little while here.
Yes, I did. I did commercial for a couple of years. Originally from New Orleans, I was in property management for around 10 years. Got into this completely by accident. Person went on maternity leave, never returned. This kid out of college that went to school to work in hotels was all of a sudden managing around 350 apartments in Metro New Orleans. So yeah, got into this completely by mistake.
That was a really hard job.
Yes, when you get the 2 o'clock phone calls during Mardi Gras that somebody's house, their sprinklers, went off or whatever, it's a crazy place and a crazy property management's not for everyone.
Not for everyone.
No.
So when you got done with property management, what'd you do next?
So I came here, was a 120-day leasing licensee, just to kind of get the ropes of Chicago, knew none of the neighborhoods. And then just kind of started, from scratch, basically, and just, networked, met a lot of new people, liked it enough where once the 120-day expired, I was just like, I'm just going to go get my broker's license where I can do it all. And then I joined a commercial team with that properties, and then in January 2019, joined KO Realty.
Do you like working with leases?
Yes, it's not the most loyal of businesses, or you don't have the most loyal clients, but if you do show that that you are an expert in a certain neighborhood, or you can basically you can show the person exactly what they are looking for, not just show what you think they might, but you're really hitting home on like, oh God, they have to have the in-unit washer and dryer. Don't show them anything that doesn't have an in-unit washer and dryer. Show what is the key points on what's going to make them move, and focus on that.
One of the things we were talking about with the class I was in yesterday, we were talking about being people who are good at asking questions.
Yes.
And I think that's probably one of the things, the skills that we don't talk enough about.
Yes, and just cutting to the core and just going, what's most important to you? Because usually when you get down to that, they will start talking about exactly if it's schools, if it's, being close to the red line, whatever. They're going to tell you what's most important.
Are they different than residential?
Yes. Look, a person that calls you on Saturday to come show you in a unit might call, another person on Sunday. There's a little bit more loyalty with residential, but if you do a good enough job, you can really make, there are agents out there that strictly do leasing that absolutely crush it. And then once you get into the luxury high-end rentals, then it's just a referral, machine.
Talk a little bit about the luxury high-end rentals.
Yeah, it's hard to crack. Look, there's not too many people looking for $10,000 a month apartments, but if you get a foot in the door for some of these big large management companies throughout Chicago, no doorman doesn't like a $5 Starbucks gift card. You get in with them, and then you get in with the management team. You can start a relationship and be their outside source to, oh gosh, I'm just going to bring you clients. But you got to build a rapport. They're not going to just give it out to anybody, just because you may end up doing some of the wrong things in their building and not necessarily, doing everything the right way. They want to make sure that you're going to, set a great example and also do right by your clients.
I want to talk a little bit about, because I told you this is one of the places I'm not really familiar about this. So the management companies you keep talking about.
Yes.
Who are they?
So like your Beal, your TMG, it's a lot of companies that have a large portfolio of, rental units throughout, the Chicagoland area. If you go look up a lot of these buildings, it's mostly owned by 5 or 6 different companies.
Okay.
But there are private landlords. That's how you're going to basically get your, start is what I used to do, and I don't know if this is necessary. I would tell people, hey, I just have a person that was looking around in your neighborhood. Would you be willing to offer me 1 month's rent as the commission? I'd be happy to bring them over. And most of the time, if they weren't listed, they were definitely interested in taking you up on that. Okay. I was never. There are some people that just like lose my number, but
there's always people.
I've been told that many times before.
Okay, so you started with both individuals looking for that, but you also started with trying to build these relationships with management companies.
Definitely.
And apparently, since you're doing this for Kale now, I'm assuming that you were fairly successful with building those relationships.
Yes, and then I also learned from other people as well. I definitely had mentors along the way. Yes. But yes, once you get a good rapport with a couple of different buildings, then you can kind of say, hey, well, I have a good relationship with this company. I would love to bring over some clients over to your building as well.
Are you doing anything at Kale to teach other people how to do this?
So yeah, we do rental trainings, pretty frequently.
What would be in a rental training?
Rental training is mostly people want to know how to get landlords. They want to know how to, get clients. And unless you do have something to market, you're really just only marketing to your friends, families, and relatives. Which I always tell, I have so many brokers of ours that come to us and say, oh, I didn't know I could do rentals. They thought that with their broker's license, they could only do sales. And I'm like, wait, you can do it all. And you should never be turning down. This is something great to sprinkle in, here and there. Well, it's not necessarily the high time of the sales season. There's always a reason for people to be moving to Chicago because it's such an international city. Mm.
I hadn't thought about that. I always assumed that people, that's this bad thing, use that bad word. I assumed that people knew that their license entitled them to do. Okay, good to know. That's something I've learned, and I'll make sure I'm sort of mentioning that a little differently these days. Okay, so once they find clients, it's faster than residential. What are the pitfalls that people have when they do that?
In rentals?
Rentals.
So once I do have like a listing?
Yes.
So there's tons of sites. So you can market on the MLS, or you can go to sites like, Zillow or Craigslist or Trulia, HotPads, which do also syndicate out, if you do put it on the MLS. And then you can just basically say, hey, a lot of people will get tired because they don't do a good job of setting up like the showings. What a lot of smart, well-seasoned brokers will do is say, hey, we're going to be doing open house, for rentals, from 12 to 2 on Saturday. Please come bring by all your clients, or they'll just have a sign outside that, anybody that's just walking by, especially if you live out in Lincoln Park, there's always people walking around, then can just come on in and see. But just coming out, for one showing on a Tuesday at 5:30 and then another showing, it's just, you're going to get really worn out. So really, really be strategic about your time and treat it as a sale, but these are going to go a little bit quicker just because, most people need to move in ASAP.
Okay. I'm going off topic a little bit. Yeah. With both of them are connected. One of the things I find is fair housing violations are much higher in rentals than they are in residential.
Very much so.
In single family and multiple residential.
Yes.
What kind of training are you doing? And so the two things I heard, last year they did source of income is an issue now.
Yes.
So I'd like you to address that in a minute. But also then the other one that I hear all the time is, I have a service dog.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and no, those are great questions. So I always tell anybody that has a listing out there, ask the same questions to every single person you speak to. I always ask this, what is your credit score? Because we're going to go through a credit and background check. So I just kind of get this out of the way. So credit, what's your monthly income? Also, do you have any pets? How many bedrooms you're looking for? Also, time frame. Look, if you're looking for a place out in July, it's probably not the right time right now to be looking for that place. I want to make sure I'm not wasting my time or your time. And then with source of income, a lot of people ask for, 2 times the monthly income and rent. We have a credit and application site where we do it for fair housing laws. You have to approve or deny the credit the landlord does.
You have to bifurcate, yes.
And then it moves on to the criminal portion, which if you do use a lot of these, nationwide application sites, they're not necessarily doing that same way. So whomever you are using for that application site, make sure they're doing it in accordance with the Chicago laws. Because you could be...
That's a big piece of business, yes.
Yes, you could be getting yourself in a lot of trouble. Okay. So, yes.
Service dogs.
Service dogs. Here, you cannot say no to a service dog. They will provide you with some sort of documentation from a doctor. But yes, so if they have a service dog, yes,
the answer I always give them is yes.
Yes.
That's the answer is yes.
Now, they do have to have proper documentation. But other than that, yes, you
just can't argue.
You cannot, no.
You can't argue.
No.
You talked about being in Lincoln Park a lot. What are the hot markets for rentals right now?
I mean, Lincoln Park's always hot. Logan Square, Ravenswood, Avondale. Look, here, I think with COVID, it really broadened out a lot of places, especially now in the suburbs.
That's what I was going to ask you about next.
People were never looking in the suburbs before. I moved out to Wilmette, during COVID. And a lot of people are looking for houses around there because they want to change schools or their houses are going under renovation. There's also a lot of nice new apartment complexes out there that would not have even been in their, thoughts before COVID. So people are moving kind of more outside of like the city areas. So yes, a lot of the suburban markets are hot for apartments right now.
Everywhere you go, it seems to me that if you're anywhere near transportation, like
Metro, yes.
Well, not only Metro, also expressways,
yes.
tollways. Somebody has built this monstrous apartment building. Are they filling them up?
If they're priced accordingly, yes. With a lot of these new apartments, they're really high end, so they're asking for a lot. But people do like going into something that's never been lived in before. So. Yeah, but the suburban market's a lot, less expensive than the downtown, high-end, loop buildings are going to be.
Yes.
So you're going to get more bang for your buck out in the suburbs.
All right, so something for people to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I live in Crystal Lake. They're just building a whole new, it's going to be apartments, condos, and townhouses.
Oh, wow.
In Crystal Lake, but you can walk to the train. You can walk to Metro to go downtown. And Crystal Lake also, they're right on the edge of Crystal Lakes, has a cute little downtown. So they're right on the edge of the downtown. So you literally could probably go without a car. It would be tricky. But you could almost live your life to a large degree without a car, even there, which is just... I wasn't surprised by the apartments, the condos even, but rental townhouses they're building as well.
Yes. And people are also... when they are, snowbirding or, downsizing, people are thinking about not necessarily selling their houses, but renting out their houses, especially if they're around good school districts, which wasn't always the case before. I know I have the houses around me that are being rented out, which is
unusual.
Unusual, yes. You would think that these are going to be, sold, but we'll see.
Interesting. What else do you want to tell me about yourself? Well, let me change the subject altogether. Tell me why you got involved with YPN.
So I got involved with YPN. So when I moved from Lincoln Park to Wilmette, I joined NASBAR, and I just wanted to get more involved in the association. A colleague of mine, DJ Paris, he is heavily involved in Cars YPN. So when I heard about NASBAR's YPN, I was like, all right, let me go give it a shot. And once I interacted with a lot of the fellow YPN members, I was like, I kind of really like this because not only do I like the people, I like kind of what we're doing. I like the parties that we throw. I like the networking. I get to meet a lot of cool vendors, a lot of cool, people outside of real estate as well. So it's like the best of both worlds for me.
Perfect.
I get a little bit of business, and also, I also,
A little bit of fun.
it was a lot of fun.
Perfect. I want to thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. You taught me some new stuff. I'm glad that you were here this morning. Thank you.
I was honored. Thank you so much.
Just a note, the views of our guests may not reflect the views of the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors.